let's get right into it. God, how do you feel? How are you doing today? Like, we're always coming to you asking for something or asking for something or even giving gratitude, but have we ever taken the time to ask, how do you feel? God replied with the movie 7 Pounds. Moments later, I'm minding my business, relaxing with my son, and 7 Pounds, the movie 7 Pounds starts playing in like 10x speed, right? Very fast, just as if someone's pressing like fast forward. And all the main points of the movie, the highlights, the main messages, everything all coming in at once. It's like I was sitting there and the movie was just like circling around me with so much highlights and notes and stuff that I was just taking, observing, and receiving. Like, it was the most beautiful way I ever received a message, a download. If you're not familiar with the movie 7 Pounds, I encourage you to definitely watch it. It's such a good movie. Some people have other views or whatever. I love it. One of my favorite movies. That movie always had me weeping and bawling, crying. Such a beautiful story. So many things. I haven't thought about that movie in eons and years, so the fact that this was even coming up in my mind as well, I knew it was a direct reflection of the question I asked God in my prayer, and the messages and the clarity of oh my God, please look it up. But if you aren't familiar, a short story of it. I really don't have that much space on my phone, so that's why I'm like, please look it up so we can just get straight to the message. But the main point of this story is that the main character, Ben, he basically gets into a car accident, 7 individuals wind up losing their lives, and he is left with ultimate guilt, and he feels his way of giving back is giving 7 parts of him. And the last part that when I say parts, it's like his organs, he was basically donating to assist other lives who were maybe sick, needing an organ and transplant, whatever. That was his way of giving back to like help assist with his guilt, the remorse that he had, right? And the 7th individual who he winds up donating to is his heart, right? How that correlates to how God feels. Such a deep message. Basically, just imagine all the sacrifices that the main character Ben did, right? Will Smith, that he did, and imagine that those patients wouldn't have honored. Imagine the eyes that he gave to the man, right? That he kept them closed all the time, or took his sight for granted and didn't utilize what he was gifted with, right? Imagine Emily was donated the heart. That was the 7th individual, and where the main character, Ben, where he donated his heart. And imagine had she not lived a fruitful life after. Like, imagine she just would have been depressed and not lived life with the life that she was given, right? Imagine not honoring the sacrifices that one took to give you life, that one took to refresh your life, to save you, etc. What would that look like? How do you think that person would feel, right? I'm trying to translate what I see and how I felt like into words, because it was a wave of emotions and downloads that came, and it's so many like intertwining messages. Basically, how does this correlate to how God feels is because a lot of us can take for granted the very sacrifice that he took. And a lot of us may take for granted the gifts that we have been gifted, especially with life and especially beyond life, and especially our internal gifts, our external gifts. Sometimes we can get so caught up in life that we may just forget how much of a sacrifice it took for us to even be here in this present moment. And whether you're utilizing your life and time wisely or the opposite or somewhere in between, it still gave so much clarity and revelation of a new perspective of how do you honor what was sacrificed for you. How you honor is how your actions, your mindset, your behavior, your habits, your entire energy on your journey in this human journey. The reason why I feel 7 pounds is such a beautiful, beautiful example on how this correlates to how God feels is because 7 pounds represented the 7 individuals, and I think it's interesting because of like the 7 deadly sins, right? But within the movie, Will Smith was testing each character to see if they were worthy of receiving his donation, right? In a sense, to make sure that they had good character, that they wouldn't waste what he was sacrificing. He tested and tested these characters to make sure they were worthy. And within the journey, the last 2 individuals were going to receive parts of him after he transitioned, after he gave his life up, right? The eyes and the heart, where I think is such a beautiful correlation. There's a scene in the movie where Emily, she's in the bathtub. This is after she receives her new heart, and moments where she misses him, right? She goes underwater to listen to his heartbeat, to connect with him, right? That correlates to how God is within us and how we can just tap within to feel, to connect, to hear, to see, to experience his presence, right? With Ezra was the patient that Will had donated his eyes to. He was a blind man. And Emily, who received the heart, at the end, you know, she goes to look Ezra in the eyes. Oh, so sad. She goes to look Ezra in the eyes and just to get another glimpse of him. Right before he took his life, Will, right? The main character, he basically wound up falling in love with Emily. He didn't mean to, but it just happened, and she was dying more and more, and he didn't want her to go, so he made that sacrifice. It's so complex because of all the dynamics to it, just to have a better understanding of why she was so intimate with hearing her heartbeat and wanting to look into Ezra's eyes to just get another glimpse of Will, to feel him. Though he was gone, he was still here. Though he was gone, he was still here. And she had moments, spaces, opportunities where she can just tap within to feel him. And in a sense, though he's not here, he never left. He's a part of her now. So it correlates to God. So let's make the analogy a little more personal in case you're connected but a little bit distant in the connection with your higher power guide, right? Imagine a loved one donating their life to you for you to live life, whether you had a condition. Let's use health an example, right? And imagine a loved one donated their life to you to make sure that you can be able to live out your life, right? How would you honor that? Wouldn't you make sure that you live the best absolute life, that their life didn't go to waste, that their purpose, that their actions, that their sacrifices don't go to waste? How would you honor that daily? And what would it look like in your eyes of dishonor? So let's use that example with our relationship with God. And though it may not be intentional, but there are things that we take for granted and do not honor fully. And it's a journey. God knows where our heart is, but it's also our duty, our responsibility to be aware and take accountability for certain areas as well. So asking him how he felt and him replying with 7 pounds. And there's so many details in that movie, and I know I'm not fully covering it, but that's just a quick summary. So ask, how are you? How do you feel? And that was his response. Making sacrifices for your children that they don't honor, or maybe they do honor. It's all in between. He loves no matter what, but feelings are still valid, right? And it wasn't like, it wasn't angry, or it's just more or less, you know, to not take for granted the sacrifices that were made for each of us to be here. From God, from our ancestors, from our love, from the breath of life in itself, to rise up each day and have another opportunity to do life, to be better, to do better, to connect, to create. And we have our seasons, our ebbs and flows where we are good, maybe bad, and in between. But in the midst of all of that, continue or start being more mindful, even more mindful on how you honor your life through each season. How do you show up? How do you show up and honor the sacrifices that was made for you to be here? Do you waste time and waste life? Do you invest into your health and better your mind and mental space? Do you crash out and do the opposite? Are you depressed and through a hard season right now and struggling? And you don't even know how to show up or maybe have the energy to show up? And it's hard. Trust me, I've been there. I know had I had this information when I was going through my darkest seasons, I would have shown up a little bit better, not dismissing or excusing any of the real valid feelings and everything I was going through within that depression and within that dark mental space. But had I had this knowledge, I would have shown up a little bit better, just knowing like, yo, I know it's hard right now. I know this is a tough season. I know you want to give up right now, but there have been sacrifices made for you to be here. Each breath you take, each moment, and even if it's not the best moment in life right now, the best season, is still so much that has been done for you to be here. I just encourage you to keep that in mind next time where you may be backtracking in life. Keep that in mind where sometimes the depression or the dark side of life may not even, it's not always our fault, you know? That can be the enemy. It can be repercussions from our actions, mistakes, etc. It could be it's a whole range priority, right? No matter the reason, just keep that in your mind of how can I honor the sacrifices that were made for me to be here in each moment? And what does this honoring look like? Having this knowledge now and looking back in my previous years and even just last year, there's so many ways in how I just dishonored those sacrifices that were made because I wasn't valuing the most important details in life and dismissing that. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And sometimes you can get so caught up and be selfish unintentionally that you dismiss all that you are, all that it took for you to be who you are, and all that it took for you to be here in this present moment. Yeah, this message still hits. There's so many aspects to it. I really hope I covered it, but receiving that, I just wish I could translate the emotions felt of how it was received. Like, even when I tell you I was weeping like all day, all week, down to like even when I think about, that's why it took me this long to share the message, because I received this in February, like early February, but it just was so hard to like translate, as well as like not be like crying as I'm trying to translate it, you know, because the emotions and the words aren't bringing the full like spectrum of how deep this message is. One, if you haven't seen the movie, please watch it. With hearing this message, like, view it, watch it in that perspective. So I just share this message to bring a little insight and to encourage you to dive a little deeper within to see how can you show up each day and honor your life, honor all that you are, honor all what it took for you to be here in this present moment, to honor all that you've been through to get here within yourself as well, and how you can honor showing up for God for all that He's doing in your life, has done in your life, and will continue to do in your life. All that He has done for your bloodline, your family, you know? How can you show up and honor that more or even start if that's not a part of your thing, you know. But I just say take this message with an open heart, and to also ask yourself in prayer, ask God, how do you feel today? How are you doing? What's going on? You know, really, really be vulnerable and have that intimate, deep, very beautiful conversation, like topics of conversations with him. I know after this whole message, it just made me view, and it gave light insight to not have a one-way relationship with God. It's a two-way. It's to really honor the same way how we can pour out into a romantic partner or pour out into things to make it seem like we're whatever it is. Have them same energies with how you pour out to God, with how you pour out into your health, with how you pour out into elevating yourself, with how you pour out into your purpose, your mission, and how you can serve God, and how you can spread the word, and how you can just show up and do better, be better, love better, and leave better. To honor the sacrifices that you have taken, as well as was given to you for you to, like I said, be here. And that's from all aspects, from God, from family, from community, from children, from loved ones, from romantic partners, from any, you fill in the blank. Within that though, I think it's also ironic with the 7 pounds and how heavy this message has been. And it's so beautiful too with 7. It's just a personal thing with me, a personal number for me, my life path, as well as just the 7 sins, how you can also get caught up in the 7 sins, and that can also dishonor the sacrifice that it took for you to be here. That's another thing that can hold weight and hold heavy upon your heart. Lighten your heart up, free your heart space up, free your voids, and fill those voids with God's love, with God's word, with God's presence. Stop carrying so much weight on your heart that you don't have to. Free up space, free up storage. Oh my God, that has been such a theme in my life too with my just electronics. But free up that storage to invite God in. Free up that space. Let it go. And take baby steps. That's another thing too, where it doesn't have to happen overnight. Just a month ago, where I came back to Christ. And mind you, like, it was just years ago where I was, honey, I had so much to say about Jesus and the Bible and Christianity and all of this stuff, because I was in my super woke era phase, and like, no, it's a white man's religion, and this, that, and the letter J didn't exist, and they programming us and blah, blah, blah. Just, you know, blah, blah, blah. Man, I also added, and it was just last year where I was wanting to give up and not even be here. So I share all that to say is that God is working with you, even when you may not feel it, even when you may not know it. Know that you are never alone, and know that you have such a beautiful, strong presence that is with you all the time, that is within you all the time, to be able to give you life, to see life, to experience life. And don't allow the enemy to dismiss you. Don't allow the enemy to convince you out of that, to disrupt your mind and not even allow you to receive that. Don't base your life off of one season. Had I made a permanent action in a temporary season, it would have depleted the whole entire reason of that season. Not depleted, I can't think of the word right now. It would have depleted the energy needed to complete the seasons moving forward. Whatever, y'all get what I'm trying to say. But free up your heart space, and please do not make any permanent decisions, choices, or actions that are toxic to your well-being, to your health, to your loved ones, to your family, to your community, to God. Please do not make any permanent hurtful decisions and choices while you are in a temporary season, a temporary emotional space. And even if that temporary may feel like eons, it's still temporary. Nothing lasts forever. Good and bad. That's life. It is what it is. That's why you just be present within each moment. Just take your time. This was also another beautiful reminder to enjoy the little beautiful details in life that make up the bigger picture. I think I used this example before of how if you're really, really zoomed in, you can see the little specks that make up a beautiful painting, right? But when you zoom out, you can see the full image. Let's view life like that. It's so many beautiful I was going somewhere with that perspective. Enjoy the beautiful details in life to see the bigger picture. Because sometimes we can get so caught up in the details that we forget that there's a bigger view, a bigger picture, a bigger reason of this little small detail that's making up a bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? When you zoom out and you're able to fully see the vision, the love, the lesson, the wisdom, whatever it is. But I also encourage you to, especially those who are in fast-paced, busy mode all the time, try one day where you just try something new. Take time, don't rush. Look at the flowers, look at the trees, look at the plants, look at the bees, look at just the beautiful details that make up life. The humans that intertwine through their day, through the streets, through owls, just take a moment to slow down and just appreciate every intricate detail of life and you. Because within doing all of that, it just was a beautiful intertwining treasure hunt with God. And it's so beautiful, the treasures that he gifts you, especially when you just surrender. Yeah. And I think that's it. We did it. And I will see y'all